Can you hear me, Tristan? Okay, I don't know what happened. I sent you an email and then I tried to connect with you. It kept showing that you're trying to join in, but somehow it never connected. So I wasn't sure what's going on. Is all okay, or did it actually happen, or was something wrong on my side? Oh, okay. Is it okay now? It's working? It seems that it's okay. We're connected. Um, so if anything goes bad in between while we are going through the session, Um, yeah, good now. Okay, so no worries. Um, let's get started, eh? Okay, today we will start with the module three, which is research in business and business of research. So I'm not sure if it's going to be of interest to you, but for anyone who's planning to start their own independent research business, this could be very useful topics. Nevertheless, I'm grateful that you are there. You're my only audience, and I'm always looking forward to see you on board every single session, keeping my fingers crossed. Hannah, for some reason, was supportive. She's been around. She's attended quite a few classes, but I don't know what happened. She's not joining us. Anyway, let's just start with module three. And I don't know if you'll find it interesting enough. But to me, it is something that I encounter or go through on regular basis because we do provide research services from our platform. So that's what makes it real easy for me to explain these slides. And I'll obviously add my own experience with it. So let's look at some of the questions that might be something that you would find useful to keep in mind, as if these could be typical questions asked by the client, or what could be the expectations generally in the research market for you to come in as a researcher and look for opportunities. What could be, the pre-qualifications for that? Um, Now, let's look at these charts. There are three of them. We'll run two. Third, we may not require. So the first one is talking about readiness of starting your own business or preparedness of starting your own independent research business as an independent knowledge worker or a knowledge consultant. So let's see what we have for this question. There would be questions like expert subject knowledge, or do you want to become a generalist, which means that you're good at research and it won't matter what is the nature or what is the subject of research. You don't need to have a specialized knowledge about a certain subject matter. Okay, so that's a generalist. Usually it is subject matter which is important. Most of the assignments you'll end up getting is in market research areas, because that is surely, I know that it's mostly outsourced. Then there are all different kinds of subject related researches, like legal research is there, background checks is there, uh, research on corporate research is another area, industry research is another area. So all of those different flavors, but for those specialized researchers, you need that expertise or some level of certain level of knowledge. So you have to position yourself or your business to present or package services that works around or revolves around the subject matter, or as a generalist, what could be the popular searches. We'll talk about what is considered as a generalist later on. Then we have where to search for information on the internet. Knowing that you've taken the CIRS course, one of the things we teach is, where to look for information on available databases or specialized searches that you could do. Uh, it is like highways. If you don't know what highway it is or which one connects with what streets or what different areas or cities, you won't be able to get to that. So to have a library of sort, you could say, that you want to put together, that obviously you don't want to keep repeating doing, or just look for something all of a sudden, um, and wasting your time that way. You may be better off if you have a collection of those links where you can get to quickly as a library or quick find. And also because if you have that kind of sorted out, that gives you a knowledge of what is available to you or what you need to procure or pay for. So, if it is within reach or not, or the difficulty level of obtaining that information, all that would be assisted if you have, uh, a library of your own. Okay. How to reach research for relevant and reliable information. Here we are talking about relevance of information and reliability. Reliability is most important because that's where you would have to, um, you know, uh, will have to give an assurance to your client that certain data you've collected has a value because it has been vetted, or it has been verified, as a data. So, um, so relevance and reliability, if you have the ability to do that, that's important. Then, how to identify fake and biased information. So remember when we were doing the internet knowledge challenges or internet information challenges, there were so many different um, situations, or you could say that there were, certain biases that we looked at, um, related to religion, related to your beliefs, your personal values, your, any influencers that would impact your judgment, would make it more biased. That could be one of the things. Can you give me a moment here? I need to turn on the air conditioning a little bit. So I'm just going to take a pause here momentarily. How many degrees is that? Okay, I'm back. So I'm sure you can hear me now. So to identify fake and biased information, so you have to look at all those factors that could impact the bias or create a bias, in your opinion, and how to identify fakes, or let's say misinformation, or anything that you need to verify, for that matter, needs to have a process. And that process could mean that it could go as deep as forensic labs, hardware level sort of verification, or it could be on simple online tools and your best judgment and your experience or circumstances surrounding that situation or that source, so that you can find a way to actually identify and differentiate if it's true or fake. That part. It is mostly covered in online investigative research. We have a book called Online Investigative Research um, Methods, and that is included in your Dropbox. So just so that you can get a flavor of, what could be the next level, go after your CIRS. That is perhaps something that if you require for getting into investigations or verification of info, you may find that book very useful. Um, how to collect, tabulate, organize, analyze, and present information. So your ability to do these tasks is important. How to write research reports and derive inferences and conclusions. So you would be able to do analysis. You would be able to, write it in a write the research report in a professional way, and you should know the format of how it is acceptable across the industry, so it can be used by any other research companies, and so on. Ability to conduct online investigative research. See, online investigative research is a slightly different area of specialization in online research, and it has, like I said, I mean, there is a book there that you can refer to get an idea of what is involved in investigative research process. But depending, like I said, it is readiness for starting your own business. Sometimes you can put your expertise under the knowledge or subject knowledge as someone who can do investigative research online. And that could be, one of the uh, packages or one of the offerings that you can put in on your website. So you have to also be familiar with the important cyber laws, uh, and the ethics or ethical issues of internet. Ethics is mostly to do with the method of collecting the information. You have to keep away from the vulnerable subjects, like, or at least uh, have a legal knowledge of knowing where to and how to get the uh, what we call informed consent. There is a format and that you have to obtain. And then cyber laws like intellectual property, you have to be careful about, most importantly, the copyright aspect of it. Then, certain other laws which would mean how you deal with the data, or how what is your responsibility if you're a custodian of some sort of information. You have to also be familiar with how to protect yourself or mitigate risks as a researcher, what information you can use once, or if you were able to reuse it or not, that kind of thing. So laws are important. Sound knowledge of conventional research methods and methodologies. That's exactly what we discussed previously, and that was the second part of our module 2, which we finished up. Then knowledge of specialized online search, and research tools, utilities, and specialized search engines. Remember the book I told you about that's in your Dropbox, which is a reference guide for you to look for specialized tools, utilities, your specialized search engines, all that is combined and put inside of that book. If you want me to show that to you again, I can do it, but there's no point because it's right there. It says Internet Information Sourcing. I think that is the title of it. So you can look it up, and that is, readily available references for you to find information quickly. Okay. And we update those books and booklets on regular basis. At least we do it once every quarter. So it is quite updated. Okay. Then we've got how to perform precision search with query operators, something that we obviously started with when we began with module 2. So how to structure your search queries and how to look for information. This is all those things which you have to be mindful about, and also consider these to be prerequisites before you start your online research work. In the second slide, we're going to sit as if we are This guy sitting on the chair is supposed to be a client or potential client who's looking for or prospecting for the right researchers team or looking for um, getting mm, getting the right type of research specialist. That's what he's looking for. So what would be in his mind before he selects the research specialist? First thing is that he's going to look for the experience of that person in that industry, if it is subject specific knowledge that is required, because that's the primary factor. Second is, what are the previous work references? That's obvious too. I mean, they would want to know if you have experience or you're experienced enough that you can provide some sort of references for the work you've done before in the same area, preferably of research. Then he's going to think, can we trust giving business information? Because normally what happens that when you are in the process of being engaged for research work, there is an exchange of information from both sides, not just from you as someone who is delegated the task or who is given the task, but at the same time, those that are looking for those research specialists would also have to give or disclose certain information that is internal information for them. And that could be very sensitive as well. So here, because it's a two-way street, there is exchange of info. The client would want some reassurance that their information at least is not going to trickle down to or go to their competitor. On the other hand, they also want to make sure that any information you have collected is not going to be reused somewhere, because they've paid for it and they would want to trust you to not reuse it in any way or to share it with anybody else. So there would be some paperwork like non-disclosure, non-compete, things like that. Then they're going to think, can we count on information and data reliability gathered for research? This question comes up when you are expected to do surveys and you're expected to collect information from doing some legwork or making that extra effort to collect it by, through means that would provide you a primary source, or you are engaging with the direct source, and that is not only time consuming, but it is an expensive proposition. So the client would want to make sure that you are not faking that, or want an assurance that you are not one of those companies that do false surveys and save money or the cost for themselves to make higher profits. So that kind of assurance they want to know. Then they are looking at the business background, size, expertise, client base, and so on, which is standard for any business before they delegate anything or they're buying something, whatever the connection might be between a vendor and those that are buying or paying for services. They certainly would want to get that kind of an idea about a business. It's not going to get folded and next day it's just going to finish up. So that is important. What are the business membership and trade organization? So to understand why there is a relationship between a business that is actually registered with or has subscription to professional associations, is because professional associations are regulating those business, and somehow at times there is a licensure or renewal of licensure that is of value when you are attached to these organizations. And your involvement with those professional associations and organizations also dictates your your interest in the subject and you're being updated or not, as well as your dedication to the profession. So all that is reflected because of it. Then who are the business partners, collaborators, affiliates? So these, all of these terms have different meaning: partners, collaborators, affiliate, franchisees, etc. What it is saying is that if you have a dealership of some sort or a distribution ship, or you have a professional licensing of um, delivering something of value, which is a branding that is already established, an intellectual property or a trademark well recognized in the industry, that could be something that might help you in being assessed, or as help you in getting qualified in the eyes of your potential client. What is the business digital footprints? Are you, member? Do you have social media followings? What platforms on social media you are represented, and so on and so forth. So that is your digital footprints. If people are talking about you, or there is a discussion, or there is a reference to you or your company or your business, that is a digital footprint also. Your business website, how does it look and feel? Does it have that corporate look or not? Is it complete enough, for the website? Is it revealing enough that it is disclosing, detailed information and not just the surface level information? Does it also give details of who are the partners, if it is a partnership, or who are the uh, senior management, and so on and so forth? So that is important. Are there any third party opinions posed there? So this is where you're going to break out of their website and look at what third party or outsiders or anybody else is discussing on you or about your business. If anything that is out there is reputation or rating or something like that, that now Google allows for the users to actually add to, or give their opinion. Are there any court cases or ongoing litigation against the business? You can actually find that out by going on, different sites that provide this kind of data. And in states, I'm sure there is a county level, then there is a state level information, or there could be mm, state courts, city courts, or what do you call county courts, superior courts, and so on. So you can go to their websites and look for anything that is legally um, considered to be an ongoing cases against, or if there is any judgment against or for these firm that you are looking to engage. So all these are something that you would consider as important areas or important um, qualifiers for them to engage you as a researcher. How do I get research work? We're going to be discussing this in great detail because I'm sure it is more important to a lot of people. But quickly, I'm just going to, without explaining in detail, because it's going to get explained anyways in the following slides. So let's look at the first one: establish research niche area. So you have to package your product or your services. It's going to be specialized or generalist. Layout online presence. Obviously, uh, there has to be a plan for online presence. Business plan is obvious, is logically the first thing you should do anyways, because business plan contains so many other information besides just the marketing plan. That is integral part of the business plan. There is projections, budgets, packaging, value proposition, and so many things. So business plan is important. Paint certification, if it's a professional certification that is required, or if it is, you know, whatever is considered to be legally binding between you and the municipalities or trade organizations before you could start the business. Obtain all those certificates. Register with professional organization. Check mark. These are just check mark. Familiarize with typical outsource work, like what is considered to be low hanging fruit, for instance, to get ready work for you to get started at least. So what are those? So there is data scraping, lead generation, online data collection. These are usually always available online as third-party outsourced work. Temp contracts with researcher sites like Ask Wonder. There are sites. This just reference to the opportunities. We'll discuss these as short-term contracts or even short-term research work that is offered by companies like Ask Wonder or ResearchGate. Place services with job sites and virtual assistant database. Assist as virtual assistant, it's more generic in nature, could be bunch of researches you have to do, not necessarily sticking to the research work alone, could be some additional work for virtual assistant. Then we've got start with low pay outsourcing portals for quick short term, because you need references and you need to have some connections. You also need to establish a contractual relationship between those research businesses that are already established. And remember, in research business, it is very hard to retain employees on regular payroll uh, whole year round. Why? Because there are a lot of spikes and there are, pockets where there is no work available or there is an idle time for which you have to pay your employees unnecessarily. So, and then there are times then where, a part of the research or part of the same research could scale, and then it is like going yo-yoing like this. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, because these are the phases of research work, and you need to hire temporary experts or temporary researchers. So you should know that while you are looking for these resources or you have a collection of these resources, let's call them seasonal resources, you also may be required or would have the opportunity to become part of another research company that might, request your assistance. So that could be another opportunity. So to stay in touch with or network with those companies and those people, it is sometimes, or what used to be a cottage industry in that sense, but now it has grown quite large, and a lot of research is happening online, and it is very easy to communicate and telecommute. um, and so that community is grown as well and matured as well. So it is now no longer a small cottage industry. It is rather a connection or a network of people that together work for the same research. Right. So let's just take a 10 minutes break here. I'll see you in a little bit, and I'm giving it just 10 minutes or so. Okay. See you around. Thanks. Okay, I'm back. Tristan, I'm just trying to get my video to work. I'm been, I don't know, your computer messed up over there, and here I'm having a problem with the video. So let's see if I can make it work. What happened? Okay, I'm just going to use an alternative video source, which is coming from my other camera. Now, who is an independent business consultant, or I'm sorry, independent consulting? What is independent consulting business? These are just definitions, and I would just say that you just read it through. It's not much for me to explain. Independent research specialist as consultant. Okay, same thing. If you know, oh, you can't hear me. Okay. How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hmm. Yeah, there is nothing wrong on my side with the mic. Okay, I just checked. Can you hear me now, Tristan? Let me know. I was just checking the mic and seems to be working. Hello, hello, hello. Yes. Mm, okay, so you can hear me all right. We are struggling with this hardware issues today. These are the forces that are preventing us from continuing. It's not worth talking about. Okay. Now I'm going to start with a list of research reports used in business. Here we are talking about the opportunity that you would have as an independent researcher to work with the businesses, because businesses, as much as they collect internal info, and internal data is gathered for the purpose of building management reports, there is an aspect of reports or certain type of data sets are required from outside the boundaries of their own businesses. and that has a lot to do with bringing in some marketing intelligence, comparative intelligence, product analysis, product feature analysis, and so on. So for that reason, there could be opportunities for you as a research specialist to look him up with the departmental heads, but to identify what those opportunities could be, would indirectly be coming out of the type of research reports or the reporting that is used by the management, and by the way, as well as for the shareholders and outside interest parties like lenders or financiers or anyone who is interested in buying their shares and so on. So there is these research reports that we will touch upon a little bit. It's important to know what they are or how they are spelled, so that if you need more information of what would make these reports or what could be the elements of these reports, most importantly, the data types, you may just want to Google it and you would find the format or, give you some samples so that and get a sense of what could be these different sort of opportunities for you to grab a partial information from outside, or it could be the entire information that you need. So, starting with market research reports, a lot has to do with market intelligence, like I mentioned to you, product um, analysis for feasibility analysis of or pre-launch, post-launch products, um, consumers preferences, and so on, that can be included in market research reports. But they could be at this part of the data you might be engaged or be outside um, help for them to collect that information. Industry trends, social media presence, this is a very major area these days. People have specialized in collecting info from social media. They do it in 10 different ways. We're not going to discuss it, but you could actually be focused on becoming specialized in collecting social media related information. Okay. Um, Consumer preferences, like you're going to, you could be a survey specialist, you can create questionnaires, you can do recruitment of samples, and so on. You could do SWOT analysis, which is once again, SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for that entity. Perhaps not all, but at least some of the data can be captured from outside, and that would mean that is another opportunity for hiring the outside help or independent researcher. Financial accounts and audit reports. Usually it is done by auditors, but sometimes the investors or shareholders or owners of the business would want a third party or an independent person outside of the audits, because auditors are usually hired by the management and they're paid by the management and not the owners. So there is this conflict of interest right there, and therefore the shareholders might be interested in hiring totally outside help, which has nothing to do with audits, nothing to do with financial accounts, but to verify certain provisions or verify the share value that they have calculated by looking at the facts or verifying those facts surrounding those provisioning or those contingency amounts that they put in the financial statements. Then they've got budget and cost analysis, product analysis, market share, comparative. So this is a list basically. It's telling you that these are research reports which are a combination of data that contains not only internally generated information, but also some outside information that can be outsourced to independent researchers. So this is for you to just remember and know that these are the more popular reports. examples of jobs that use data for research reports. It's just telling you who to go to look for prospects and to offer your services, like senior business executives. Remember, the entire slides, or at least next few that's going to follow after, is just telling you the opportunities in the market for researchers that want to start their own business as independent consultants. And everything in these slides is a guideline or guiding you into that prospective or prospecting your opportunities. So so here we are talking about what could be the different layers of management who are decision makers that you can go to. Senior business executives, product managers and product design specialists, finance and accounts related uh, executives, marketing and sales executives, CTOs or chief technology officers, they might require your assistance. Like one of the research jobs that we got was coming from a CTO who wanted to know the BOM, they call it BOM, it means bill of material. They wanted to know where their competitor is getting the product manufactured and what is the BOM price or what is the cost of it. And to do research as independent person or someone who is not considered to be, like, for instance, if they would have to go and do it, they would be highlighted very quickly, or the word would just go around in the market that so and so company is is trying to find or to um, you know to get some information about their competitors. They are better off uh, giving this work to outsiders who have nothing to do with this business, but are merely looking for the cost of that product design or product manufacturing. So it was the CTO that actually engaged us. Then, if you find that there are in the organizations sitting business analysts or cost analysts or financial analysts. So these are all analysts. The moment you see the word analyst, you should know that the analyst is someone that is going to be doing their research, or they're paid to do research, or they're the kind of people who are internally responsible for collecting the data or the information. So least opportunities for you to break into that organization or to offer your services. Okay. Now, when you have to start on your own and you want to put yourself out there for offering your services, you need to, put a value or put a price tag on your services in terms of how much you're going to charge on hourly basis, or what is your hourly fee going to be. And in order to determine that, these are some of the listed mm, qualifiers for you to, or to add to your, to value, add to, or help you to come up uh, with the hourly rates. So you can just use it as a check mark list or as a checklist. So these are listed here. I just don't want to just read you what is written, but if you have question, I can answer. But generally, these are um, common sense list. That's just an example of SWOT analysis. It's not never going to come in the exam as where you have to visualize or talk about strengths and opportunities and weaknesses. Basically, the most they will ask is what is the meaning of SWOT. So you should know it means S is for strength, W is for weaknesses, O is for opportunities, and T is for threats. This is probably the most important slide, I would think, for anyone who is looking to find opportunities with businesses. I would say that you should have um, you should at least understand the different types of reports that are generated by different departments in a business. Okay. And because they have a name or they're phrased in a certain way, you once you understand what it means, or at least have a knowledge that this is the type of reporting, you would be able to Google it with these keywords and find more information. Because in the book, we don't explain what campaign, for example, campaign effectiveness research is, what comparative analysis research is. That's not explained in the book. Otherwise, it will become very, very thick. It's already 550 some pages. So what it is doing, that this chart is telling you that these are the names of some of the research reports that are commonly called as internally generated reports, and part of the information is coming from internal data and the rest is coming from external data. So it's a mix of both, right? And it is for you to find out what are the data sets that can be obtained by offering your services as someone that would have access to that outside info. Uh, Within the marketing and sales, this is a list, and this is not comprehensive. It's not like totally complete. Okay, but it is of those reports which are very common and commonly understood just by using this terminology. People would know what research report you're talking about and what could be the type of data that is used in these reports. So, campaign effectiveness, comparative analysis, brand research, SWOT analysis report, consumer insights, consumer satisfaction research, consumer segmentation research. All of these are research. And a lot of times you will find, interestingly, you will find in the marketing and sales, for instance, that most of these reports have data that is used um, interchangeably. It is actually reused, or it is perhaps maybe like, how you make Chinese food. You've got like all these ingredients in small sort of containers, and it's just the mixing and proportion of all those ingredients or all those components that you put in different proportions to create different dishes. So maybe with 10 ingredients, you can create 50 dishes, So it is like that. So most of the data in all of these, like I said, is repeated or used by one report against another and in combination with information coming from outside. Then company research reports like equity valuation, for instance. Uh, I mean, I can give you some examples of, based on my experience of what little knowledge I have. Like equity valuation, like equity means that assets minus liabilities. So whatever is left over as a balance is the equity, and equity normally includes the shareholdings, investment, and the value of the shares and the goodwill and so on. So those are some of the figures in there are not realistic, or your assets may be valued very high or liabilities are understated, and so the equity or the net balance of it needs to be verified. That can be done with the outside parties. Share valuation, what could be the share value, is more interested parties are like outside lenders, bankers, loan companies, mortgage companies, and so on. And of course, the shareholders themselves. Then you've got company assets valuation. That can be another process which does not necessarily involve the competitors' data, but you may be asked to give a value based on what the market is willing to pay for something. So those assets can be valued in another way, and that is a part of research work also. And so it continues. But look at the names of these reports. Under company research reports, you got equity valuation, share valuation, company, and so on. Then there are technical reports, technical background report, technology feasibility reports, financial reports. These are listed here. Business intelligence, which is more or less go hand in hand with marketing and sales, key performance indicators, business performance management, and so on. So these are, just examples, as I said, because part of the topic is research in business. So we're just covering this part. Then we can also later on cover business of research, which is going to talk about things like, how to do invoicing or billing, how to determine costs, what are different methods of, um, you know, mm, using using costing, um, I guess costing methods or different costing. What are different costing methods? Put it simply, and whether those are industry-wide acceptable or not. Like I can't create the costing or pricing method on my own. I have to go by what is generally acceptable in the industry as different methods, and then to choose which one is more feasible in certain situations. So that's going to come as well. And that's the next part. Hmm. Okay, before we get to this one, I'm going to open the book and see in the book. As I've opened it right now, you could see on page 379, for example, it's going to talk about market and industry research, and then investigative research, legal research, technology, and things like that. So there are different specialized researches that you can do. But what is it that I wanted to refer to? Mm, It was, yeah, right here. The same charts that I just discussed on page 377, we are talking about formal and informal reports. We are talking about internal or external reports, information or analytical reports. This is another classification which is slightly a top layer of classification over what is described here as individual um, management reports. Okay. So formal reports are carefully structured with a proper heading and support facts and figures. The writing style is formal because usually these reports, when we say formal reports, it is standard format, and each company or business, they have their own peculiar or typical formats that have to be followed. So it becomes formal. Informal is memos are informal, informal query or something that they want an information on as a request, that is informal. Okay. Putting or writing some quick figures or writing quick notes on something, that is informal reports. Internal or external, external is obviously coming from outside help or researchers, that are going to be able to get access to those type of info, especially from the competitors. And internal, of course, is internally generated management from the enterprise itself. Informal or analytical reports, informational, sorry, or analytical reports. The informational reports like financial reports and business performance reports, These actually are following a format which is not to do the with how the organization wants the format to look like, but rather it is considered industry standards for anyone who's going to talk about, let's say, financial reports. They have to follow the international accounting standards. Those who are doing reports on, say, business performance, uh, they have to, follow certain um, specialized, like key performance indicators. As an example, in business intelligence, that has got a typical format that is accepted industry wide. So those are informational and analytical reports are, again, analysis or analytics is not something that you create. Analytics is a method that you follow or a procedure that relates to a certain type of analytics. So that is also formal, or it is something that is to be followed according to industry standards. Um, Nothing else is more important here. Um, and I'm going to move on to because I'm just checking cross matching with the slides to see if I'm not missing anything important that might come in the exam. So we're going to start with project price and cost determination. This is page 389, and it is a favorite for the examiner. So I'm going to touch upon this um, subject. Hmm. So factors to consider for price determination. This is what you have to look for, and try to imagine or at least visualize to the extent where you can look at it or decipher it according to how it is written or how it is phrased. Um, Type of client and business for price consideration. The client is rich or not, big enough, or is not in financial trouble, or has a better budget or less budget, or it's a brand new company and it's cash strained. All of that. Size of the project is another thing. Size would mean that there is a formula which I will show you. It's just the simplest formula that we can come up with. There, if you're looking at the complexity of the project based on, whatever little information is available to you, first of all, it is a complex formula. And second of all, unless you're experienced enough, there are a lot of indicators or a lot of little aspects or attributes that if you build that in, you need a professional experience, or you should have enough experience to know how to give a value to those variants. Okay, that's why we've used a very generic formula. Here, the size of the project is equal to resource cost per hour into duration of the project. So it is just timeline or how long the project is going to be and the cost based on hourly basis. So basically, that cost is going to get multiplied with the amount of time required to finish the project, and that is the size of the project. And this formula I've seen more than a few times coming in the exam, and it's very simple, so not difficult to remember. The complexity of the project, complexity could mean 10 different things, but to explain it from my experience, the complexity would mean the difficulty levels of obtaining data, how much of it is primary and how much you need to get as a secondary resource, what is the reliability or verifiability of that data, uh, what is the, mm, and I'm talking about complexity, okay? They're just giving you a broader outlook. And even though all of these attributes are, overlapping each other, but just the word complexity is what I'm explaining to you. The other part of the complexity would mean the whether it is a short-term project, long-term project, whether the deadlines are short because it needs to be delivered quicker, and what could be the fluctuation of resources? Would it be seasonal, non-seasonal? Would it be time sensitive? Would it be evolving, or would the data be moving or changing over time? And so on and so forth. So the complexity would become an issue. Then there is a cost aspect which is also added to the complexity. What is the cost level of determinability, or would the cost be fixed or it will be variable? To what extent it will be controllable or uncontrollable? um, to what extent your or internal resources would be used, or there would be a mobilization advance after every milestone that you will have to build in, depending on the cost of the project or the volume of the project, you will have to come up with that. Would you require third party assistance, outside help, or at any point would require consultants who are subject specialists or not? What level of cooperation do you expect for the client? What type of resources the client is willing to spare or allow for you to work with, utilize for the cost reasons, and so on. So complexity could mean different things, and it is, in true sense, could become more complex as you add or as you get become more knowledgeable through experience on what to factor in and what to factor out. The volume of data to be gathered, of course, sometimes it is the volume that is a killer, not necessarily the availability of the data, but the volume itself would be difficult to assimilate and to work with and to organize. Or if you have to structure it, that's another nightmare. Okay. The type of engagement, is it subcontracting or direct contracting? Are you working in the capacity of subcontractor or directly engaged with the client? Sometimes you end up working with the subcon as a subcontractor, and that is a whole new ball game where you are not reaching out to the client directly, but indirectly you are working with the client through a direct contractor. That is another aspect of cost and price determination. Self-assessment of your hourly rates. This is the most important part. Let me just highlight it. Self-assessment of your unless you have made accurate calculations based on the true cost or the true value of your service on hourly basis, you might end up losing the money, because whenever you are calculating an hourly rate, you are factoring in three things. One is the value that you give to yourself to earn that money according to industry standards, or what the industry rates prevail, or at least whatever your worth is. That is determined by the competitor in the market, not as much as with the competitor, but with the market itself generally. And then you have to build in the profitability or any other additional cost that would ideally be considered as a profit on top of the value of your services. So let's suppose if I value myself as $100 an hour worker, I would put in a margin of $20 and as an additional premium in order to give it a buffer. And I know that if I go less than $120, I might be miscalculating, because when I factor the time into it and multiply my value to the time, I might be a loser in the long run if my margin or my buffer is not attached or is not factored in. So, um, I just have to make sure, first of all, my cost includes the profit. The second thing that I have to work with is what would be the cost of the other workers or other colleagues or anyone else that is working with you in the team. Um, what would you consider as level one, level two, or level three staff? Um, would you be have you factored in the overheads or not. That could be fixed overheads or variable overheads to built into the cost for someone to be working with you and using your platform or your physical office. There would be so many other cost points you will have to factor into the hourly rate. Uh, Fixed cost, variable costs, that concept that needs to be clarified. So you're doing kind of an accounting or costing also for self-assessment of hourly rates. Then you've got check for acceptable pricing methods. You don't create your own pricing method. The pricing methods have to be, there, since there are more than a few, there are, I think, 4 or 5 methods in the industry. All of them are acceptable methods, but not all are going to work the same, given the nature of your research and your terms of engagement with the client. So, in order for you to come up with the right method, you have to understand how those methods work, or obviously talking about the pricing method. Then you've got the competition pricing and understanding the market pulse. Sometimes, you have to also look at the outlook of overall market and see whether the market is increasing the costs for research work or they're decreasing it. With the internet, I think the cost has gone down slightly because there is less of a legwork. So the marketing trend and whatever is happening in this awareness of how the market is shaping up in terms of earnability. A most acceptable billing method is important. Like how would you costing and pricing is one part, billing is another part. Like how would you bill your client? Monthly, quarterly, milestone based? Would there be a mobilization advance? Would there be a trust account? A relationship with the clients budgets, size of client's business. So all these are the factors. I think that's too much information for one day. So, Tristan, do you know when we have to meet next? Because the coming week is 4th of July weekend, and we decided that the classes I'm supposed to give, yeah, Friday is fine. So Friday is fine for both of us. The date on Friday would be 7th of July. July 7th. Hmm. I think it's your computer again. Hmm. Chat isn't working. And I don't even know if you can hear me. Uh, Let me check something. Okay, that was okay. So if I have to send you direct message, it didn't go through. Now, when I sent it to everyone, I think you can read it now. Friday is fine for me. It is fine to give class on Friday, July. Okay. Okay. So Friday it is. I want to just finish up the session a little early today. I'm supposed to be leaving to have a flight tonight. So I'm going to send you a link as well for a recording um, that I'm going to do today, and then I will meet on the 7th. That's Friday. So if you have a chance, not that it is necessary, I'm on page. See, I'm going to ask you if you want, you can read through pages 389 because this is going to be important for the exam. That's the reason. Otherwise, I'll cover it anyways. But if you get a chance, oh, you did already. You are ahead of me, Tristan. I'm getting intimidated now. Okay, so yeah, so if you've read it good enough, don't want to make it too boring for you because obviously all right. So I'll just cover this part. There is so much more that is outside of what is explained in the book, which I try that, it would make things slightly more exciting or something new that you would discover. So that's why I share my experience also. And I give that additional info. I'll do the same on this subject, especially because I deal with it on regular basis. There is a lot more that I can add to it, adding that spice to this. So we'll do that. Then don't worry about reading through these pages since you've read them already. So I'll talk to you on Friday. I'm just going to take a rain check a little bit early, but I'm going to also send you a link from my previous recording in case you would like to be a little bit ahead of what we are to read in the next lecture. So that's going to come in the email. So I wish you a great weekend and enjoy your holidays. I guess these are holidays now, starting from tomorrow. And we'll meet on Friday. So thanks again. Good night to you. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you. Take care.